So there's a story. A guy I used to work with schizophrenics, and he wasn't a principles-based practitioner, but he understood quite a lot about thought. And he was a bit unconventional, and so there was a very successful executive who became schizophrenic. Stress hit a certain point, brain chemistry fired off, different things going on in his brain, and he hallucinated snakes, but big scary snakes everywhere. And of course he became, he just shrunk into a ball, and they took him into a mental hospital, put him on Thorazine, and his wife came to this guy and said, look, can you try and help him, because they're basically asking me to sign the commitment papers for life, and I don't want to do that. And my friend said, well, how desperate are you? He's pretty desperate. And he said, okay, permission to do whatever I want to do? Yeah, permission to do, sign permission to do. So what he did is he went out to a Chinese joke shop near the mental hospital, and he bought a basket of rubber snakes. And when he was there, he noticed that the guy who owned the shop had a boa, had a real snake, a boa constrictor, not a feather boa. And he said, can I borrow her? And the guy said, sure. And so he, I don't know whether he snuck them in or whether he declared them, but he brought a live boa constrictor in a bag and a barrel of rubber snakes into the mental institution. Went into the shower room, turned on all the showers so it filled with steam. And he knows snakes, so he knew that the boa constrictor would be quite happy in there, and put him on the shower head so it sort of wrapped itself around to keep warm. And paid one of the orderlies to wheel the guy in who had the snake hallucinations. And so the guy's wheeled in, and he's coked out on Thorazine, or Thorazed out on Thorazine. What do you get on Thorazine? He's zoned out.
You're gone.
But he says to the orderly, look, they knew him. You're going to hear some weird things in here. Don't come in until I tell you to come in. And so the guy came in, brought the guy in the wheelchair in, locked the wheels, and standing there, and suddenly this guy starts looking around, and he suddenly sees this room filled with snakes. Because there's rubber snakes everywhere, there's a real snake, and of course there's all the snakes that he's hallucinating. And flair for the dramatic, guy comes out and says, I'll let you out of here on one condition. Now at this point the guy's screaming, because snakes! Just through the haze of the medication, it's his worst nightmare is actually happening. And so Gyno comes out and he says, if you can tell me which snakes are real, which snakes are rubber, and which snakes are in your head, I'll let you out of here. Now, I said unconventional, right? Mm-hmm. Okay? This is not something I'm recommending as an intervention. However, as it happened, what happened next is the guy started to go, rubber snake, real snake, imaginary snake. And he started to sort. He started to see through the illusion of the thought-created snakes. And he was out within a week. Now, for me, the point of that story in this context is just we have the capacity within us to see through even our most real, frightening thoughts. It's built in. You don't have to do anything to get it. It's already in there. And even somebody who seemed totally past it brain chemistry-wise, who was drugged out artificial chemistry-wise, still could tap into that capacity in that moment and see it. So thought, the principle of thought, is just a recognition that we live in a world of thought. That's the substance of our world. And it's like, if I sometimes think of thought as clay. And you can make anything out of clay. And at one level of understanding, at one level of consciousness, I'm going to make a little man. And you go, what's that? it's a little man. And, ooh, I'm going to make a pterodactyl. What's that? Oh, it's a pterodactyl. And I'm going to make a pony. What's that? It's a pony. At another level, you could look at it and you go, well, what's that? Clay. Well, what's this one? Clay. Well, what's this one? Clay. And that's built in. That's built into our consciousness, that ability to see thought at its nature level, at the principle level. But we're conditioned to look at it at the form level, at the what's been made out of thought. So I've made fear out of thought. Well, let's learn about fear. Well, I've made anger out of thought. Well, let's learn about anger. Well, I've made success out of thought. Well, let's learn about success. But actually, if you learn about thought, you already understand everything you need to know about success, which is that you're going to make it up. You already know everything you need to know about fear, which is you're going to make it up. You know everything you need to know about anger, which is you're going to make it up. Doesn't stop you from doing it, because that's what we do. But it somehow, it's almost like for me, like it puts a little space between me and the experience. Doesn't mean I don't experience it, but it doesn't scare me to experience it because it doesn't feel like me. It's still a scary-ass snake, but it's not quite as scary as it was when I thought it was a real snake. And there's a freedom that starts to happen in that space, in that little space. There's a world of freedom.